Welcome to the Hiscall Technology Podcast, where we are communicating tomorrow's business needs today. From just outside Nashville, Tennessee, join Hiscall as we discuss all things telephony, data, and infrastructure related to business leaders. Here we go.
All right. Thank you for joining another episode of the Hiscall Technology Podcast. We have a special guest with us today. Coming on the heels of our hugely successful Hiscall Technology Showcase, Matt is joining us from Wildix. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Chuck?
Doing just fine. Miss you down here in Dixon. I wouldn't mind if you're sitting across the table from me here in the podcast studio.
Same. Always enjoy visiting you folks down there.
We're glad to have you anytime you're able to be down here. And if we had planned this well, we could have recorded while you were down here for our showcase, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could have. That's all right. Give me an excuse next time you guys want us on the podcast to come visit you.
That's right. That'd be good. Be a good reason to come down here. That'll be good. Tim's been after me to get this done for a little while, so I'm glad to have you on today.
I bet. I'm very happy to be here. Excited.
Good. Well, Matt, tell folks a little bit about yourself and what you do at Wildix. Then we'll move into kind of who Wildix is. But tell folks a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. My name is Matt Hostiecki. I'm a channel success manager, which is probably a long-winded way of saying like a sales engineer or subject matter expert for Wildix. So obviously an expert in all of our products. Myself, as far as a background perspective, I've been in the industry coming up on 12 years now. Got my start at a local telephony distributor near me in Cleveland, Ohio. They did things like Avaya, Mitel, Adtran, Panasonic, and 100 and some odd other product lines. So it was a really good education, especially on the legacy telephony products. But they were also a master agent for a lot of the cloud-based unified communications out there in the market today. So I got to see kind of the best of both worlds. I learned a lot there. From there, I went to an over-the-top provider that was kind of like an MSP, but we really only did telephony products. Now I'm with the vendor. So it's kind of like to explain my journey, so to speak, just because it's given me a very interesting perspective on the market from just about every angle out there, you know?
Right. I understand. And I appreciate you doing that. I like how you say kind of like a sales engineer, and that's 100% to me that you're a sales engineer, no matter what kind of success manager they call you, but you bring the success. So I'll take that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You provide good support to us. Well, hey, tell our listeners a little bit about Wildix. Maybe it's a name they're not familiar. Talk to us about Wildix, some of the background there, the products and services that you provide.
Yeah, I mean, at the core, Wildix is a unified communication company, right? So I always like to say that we're an enterprise grade PBX or phone system. So we can get our system to do just about anything that you want it to. One of the unique things about us, though, is that we have true unified communications built into it. So in our technology stack, it's all the same. It's blended. It's unified. So the things that most folks are looking for out of today's technology, video conferencing, webinars, chat, SMS, virtual faxes, all these soft phones, mobile apps, all of that. So we do kind of both sides of that really, really well. Wildix is a company which, we've been in business for 20 years. We got our start over in Europe, specifically Italy. So Steve and Dimitri Osler are the founders of the company. Interesting story, which I won't get into it other than to say that they came up with the idea of the company over a glass of Guinness at a pub 20 some years ago. So from there, though, they started to build out and grow the company, obviously starting in Italy, as I mentioned. And then they went from basically country to country or region to region, and then eventually came over to North America in 2016, 2017. So understand if folks aren't super familiar with us, we're still relatively new compared to some of the other players out there in the market, but we are growing very rapidly, especially in this region. So that's a little bit about us.
Yeah, you mentioned them getting this idea started. It is a remarkable story, and if you'd like more details about it as our listener, check out a book by Dimitri Osler. He wrote a book that tells this story. It is very interesting. It's fascinating to me where ideas come from. Just a couple of guys sitting in this pub and come up with this idea that now is a global UC solution provider is really remarkable. It's something else. Matt, at the HTS, the keynote address there was about artificial intelligence. One of the focuses during the keynote of artificial intelligence is how it is transforming business, and specifically one of the use cases was around unified communications, or UC. We see artificial intelligence really make a great impact there. You talked about the success and the growth of Wildix. Recently, Gartner named Wildix to their Magic Quadrant for UCaaS. One of the things they highlighted was the feature set, including the artificial intelligence that you guys have integrated into your products and offerings. Can you speak to artificial intelligence and how Wildix is using that?
Yeah, I mean, as a company philosophy, we've always really wanted to be on the cutting or bleeding edge of technology, right? You mentioned we're Gartner, award winner. We are the only Gartner Magic Quadrant Award winner that is channel only, right? And that's obviously huge for partners like yourself. And the reason why I mention that is there's not a lot of other channel only programs that deliver the feature sets the way we do. So and I will start by answering the AI bit in two ways. First, I would like to say there's what we would call Gen 1, first generation AI, rudimentary AI. Things like speech to text, text to speech, automatic speech recognition. These have been around for decades, not necessarily new. Wildix has incorporated this into our portfolio for well over a decade at this point in time. So we've had something like rudimentary AI for a very long time, and it allows our system to be extremely flexible, customizable, and deliver better solutions for our customers. The next generation, which is kind of why, AI is the huge buzzword. Well, the next Gen 2, is really starting to deliver on the promise of AI. What you're seeing out there in the market and how it can really transform business, to me, is about automations. So, for example, some of the things that Wildix has from an AI perspective in our platform would be like live transcription. So, well, how is that useful? Okay, well, one, now I can see the transcription of the conversation going on, and whether maybe I have an impairment of some point or some kind, I have that. Two, now that we have a live transcription or a transcription just in general, we can take that and automate posting of that into things like Salesforce and HubSpot. Obviously, there's a lot of efficiency there from a standpoint. If I'm a sales guy, I don't have to do anything. It's automatically into the CRM. Then there's the analytics piece of this, right? Or sales coaching. So once we have a transcription, again, we can start building data analytics behind this. We can go back and have true sales intelligence so that managers and executives can review calls, right? And then you can start pulling data from this and see trends too. So that's just one example of how Wildix is leveraging AI in our platform. There's some really exciting stuff that's come out recently and down the road. One of them would be chatbots and voicebots. So using something called generative AI, we can train a voice bot, and it's a lot better than what a lot of folks have probably, they might think of a voice bot as, oh yeah, I've called a call center and I get stuck in a loop when it says, please say, what you want, support, right? And then it doesn't understand that. This is the next generation, is much better than that, I can tell you. And I've played around and configured with some of these. They can be wildly helpful and help reduce. I've seen statistics anywhere between 10 and 50% on some of the just repetitive manual type of questions or processes that customers are asking businesses to perform. It can really cut down significantly on those and handle some of those just, mundane tasks that normally you'd be paying somebody to do over and over. This frees up that person to go do something that really requires a human interaction, not frequently asked questions, as an example.
Right. That's great feedback. To be able to do the mundane things is where I see AI really making a huge difference, to let people do what people do best. Let the artificial intelligence handle the things that sometimes bog us down, but then where you really need a human touch and where humans are best, let's have people doing what people do best.
Absolutely. If you ask your salespeople, would you rather make another sales call or would you rather enter stuff into a CRM? 10 out of 10 times, I guarantee they're going to be like, I'd rather do a sales call or a quote or a presentation. I don't want to live in the CRM. That's boring,
Yeah, that's right. I guarantee you that would be the reply for our team for sure. So when you talk about stuff like live transcription and summarization and coaching from a sales call, that sounds complex. But what we find with Wildix, you guys have taken the complexity out of it. So can you speak to how easy it is so if a company wants this live transcription, how complex, how difficult is it to make this happen?
Yeah, it's pretty easy and straightforward, honestly. It's a matter of making sure that the folks have the appropriate license types.
Right.
From there, we just need to define what calls we would like basically transcribed or recorded. That's pretty much it. There's one little thing to turn on in the back end, and that's about it. The Hiscall folks are happy to take care of that for you. They know what they're doing. And honestly, that's really it. From a business perspective, what are you trying to do? Let's make sure this is the right fit. And then from there, are there folks that need this or don't need this? Let's define that. After that's defined, we just need to make sure that it's set up properly for the different folks. And that's, like I said, it's about 2 to 3 things that need to happen.
Yeah.
And they're very straightforward.
Yeah, that's a fascinating part of this is as complex as what we're talking about artificial intelligence doing. The reality to implement it with a UCaaS solution like Wildix is the proper license and enabling it, just turning it on. That's what's mind-blowing when you think about the complexity, what you and I have seen over the years that we've been in this business, how artificial intelligence has transformed that is remarkable, really.
It's really exciting to see where it's going, like what does the future kind of hold? Because we're still kind of in the infancy, right? It's still pretty new. There's a lot of things that you can kind of think about, and we kind of sort of start to have a little bit of a picture about what's around the corner. I mean, you could take it a step further. I totally see a world in the future where, it used to be if you didn't, a vendor didn't do the integration work and the development to do an integration, it could be a complex, expensive process. I could see a world in the future where AI does it. I mean, that's kind of where we're going is you can automate a lot of these sorts of things and teach these AI models how to read code, write integrations, right? So I could see a future where it's kind of like bring your own applications, bring your own databases. What do you want to snap in? We've had APIs for a while, but somebody at the end of the day has to connect these systems using these APIs.
Yeah.
It could be a world where you just snap your fingers and it happens, It's among a ton of other possibilities for sure.
Right. It's crazy what you can make happen so seamlessly and easily is really, truly, I've said remarkable. I feel like I've said that several times, but it really is something. Matt, when you look at your own day-to-day work, or when you look at how Wildix has evolved or transformed as a result of artificial intelligence, what things do you see for your own personal work day or for the way Wildix has transformed because of artificial intelligence? What are some things there?
Once again, I'll start with kind of like the Gen 1 or rudimentary AI. We have something called a personal assistant that uses business intelligence or some rudimentary AI where, if you were to call me, I'm in do not disturb. It actually plays my full presence and status message. It will say something like, this user's in do not disturb until 2 p.m. Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm in, which is, HTP recording, Hiscall podcast, something like that, right? So it'll actually read all of that off. And there's a lot of value to a business because, if somebody were trying to get a hold of me, they could get frustrated. The personal assistant actually can kind of prevent that because it's like, oh, well, now I know Matt's going to be available at 2 p.m. or Matt's on PTO or et cetera, right? Things like that have been a part of our world for quite some time. Now, the exciting thing is over the last couple of years, year and a half or so, we've been using more of the Gen 2 type of AI from a everyday user perspective of how it streamlines the communications in your workflows. It's incredible. So once again, having the live transcription, but we're Salesforce folks. That's what we use for our CRM. Having everything automatically posted in there is great because I don't, especially me, I'm not the sales guy, so I don't have to necessarily worry about it, but I'll be on these calls once in a while. It's nice that I don't have to worry about it. It just gets put in there. From there, we've got a sales intelligence tool that with AI and the transcription, it can spit out, the technical term spit out highlights, right? And what I mean by this is it will summarize your call or conference, and then it can do things like give you a brief, a summary, the topics. Maybe if a budget was mentioned, you might see that, implementation timeline, competitive information, next steps. So it really does a wonderful job of taking all of that call. It runs the transcription through AI. And then, like I said, it spits out these highlights, but it's a quick hitter. Like, how do you want to consume this call? It might be an hour, 2 hour call, and you can consume that in a matter of seconds and be pretty knowledgeable about what happened. In the meantime, you can still get the full call, the full transcription, right? Which is really interesting from a quality assurance, a coaching perspective. From there, I kind of already mentioned the chatbots and the voice bots. For folks out there, if you're not familiar with this, you can train these things on your corporate database. And what that means is you can take very specific data sets of your products, your services, their costs, their inventory levels, their SKUs, their supporting pieces and products, and all of these different data sets, and you can train it on there. And what that means is now you have kind of a self-service model. So it's not something that we've necessarily set up for Wildix yet, but we've definitely played around and used these internally just for testing purposes to see hey, we start feeding it like Wildix data. How accurate is this going to be? Can it handle the top 20 frequently asked questions? If somebody has a question about licensing or capabilities, will it answer that, right? And it does it very well. And our voice bots are really interesting because, like I said in the previous example, a lot of folks are used to the old school, like I got stuck in a loop when I call the call center. That's not the way these voice bots work anymore. If you say transfer or human, you can train it to, as soon as you say something like that, it will transfer you off to a human, and you don't get stuck in a loop is really the end story there. So just a couple examples off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good to hear that you're, as they say, eating your own dog food, so to speak, and in real life, but even you're getting to try out some stuff that's roadmap kind of things.
Yeah, there's
not really available to us just yet.
We've had an integration with OpenAI and ChatGPT. That's been available there for quite some time. Some of the chatbot stuff has been there, like bring your own chatbot. But the voice bots, that's pretty new. And some of that is bring your own, and there's a model where we can supply it. So yeah, that's definitely a new feature that from a sales engineering perspective, we definitely geeked out on that. We had a lot of testing. So yeah, that's just one example. We see a big market for that sort of thing. Essentially, you can have one of these voice bots in conjunction with your auto attendant or IVR, right? A lot of people think that it's the voice bot does it all. No, you could still have a traditional, hey, welcome to ABC company, press 1, press 2, but maybe you then send the call to one of these voice bots that are trained to do one particular task, like, I don't know, frequently asked questions just off the top of my head. But they can do other things too. Like we've trained one. My colleague over in the UK actually created a fake gym, and it took essentially like class reservations. So he trained it in a way where you can call up and say, yeah, I'd like a book a Roomba class at 6 p.m. Tuesday, and it would automate and send a message into a chat with whoever you want there, so that now whoever's handling these scheduling tasks automatically get a chat message, right? But they never had to interact with the customer. The customer gets the information from the voice bot, and the voice bot automates a notification via chat, at least in this instance, to an employee or a group of employees. If you start to think about and break that down of what you can do from a business perspective, that's truly exciting.
It is exciting. I would imagine that your partners, the response has been very positive towards what you're doing with AI and the Wildix platform.
Yeah, our partners, they've loved it. as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, there's not a lot of channel only companies that do this sort of thing, that sit out there with leading type of technology. And the fact that it can be delivered in a model that suits most businesses, right? We're a global company with a local regional presence through our partner base, right? And in doing so, you get the best blended of both worlds, right? You get high touch, you get great support delivered through a partner base, but you get a global award-winning technology provider, right, backing them up. And our partners have loved it. It's an AI race. Let's just be honest, right? There's like this Cold War AI race out there amongst a lot of vendors. And our partners have really been receptive to it because they know they're not getting left behind at the end of the day. So it's a long-winded way of saying that, we're investing into ourselves and into our partner base because we plan on being here a long, long time, and we don't want anybody to be irrelevant, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And Matt, from my perspective, sitting in the partner chair, it's extremely important to us that you're partnering with us. No opportunity for you to compete against us, but then you're bringing the latest and greatest technology, making it available to us that we then can take to our clients. So it's hugely important. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Is there anything on the roadmap that you could speak to that would be safe and you wouldn't get in trouble talking about? You've mentioned a few things already.
Yeah, I will speak at a general high level of where I think this might go. Some of it is an educated guess because I can't necessarily just open up the hood and let everybody in on what the roadmap is. However,
that's right.
I think some of the things that you're going to see, right? Once again, I'll keep picking on live transcription because once you have that, there's some other things that you can do. So we've got live transcription and there's stuff that happens after the call. I think what you're going to see moving forward would be taking the live transcription and then doing something with it. So think of it like everybody's probably shopped at Amazon or some website that has recommendations. Take that into a call, and now the AI might make recommendations. So think of it as like a coaching assistant, and it could be a bunch of different things. It could be the AI suggesting products, like, do you want fries with that, right? Like, hey, it just makes sense. You got a burger, get fries. It could be, hey, maybe the AI picked up on something and said whether it was the sentiment, right? So you get sentiment analysis with our AI. So it might pick up that the customer's upset or unhappy, or the customer is happy. And then based off of that, once again, make a recommendation. Right? So that's some of the things that I think you're going to see is more real-time interaction with AI as more of like an assistant coaching, that sort of thing. You're also going to see AI be used for real-time quality assurance, or not quality assurance, but quality of service, on calls, right? So you might see real-time AI noise cancellation, right? Where maybe the AI can figure out that the boardroom is sitting next to a train and the train goes by, and it can cancel that out while everybody else takes turns speaking, and it recognizes it's a human voice. As an example, you might start to see that down the road. Another exciting one would be live transcription for different languages. So we're a global company. I can tell you I work with a lot of colleagues all over the world. English is their second language. So it is very beneficial. This is one that we have kind of tested in-house already, so I can probably mention that. You can select your language of choice and then have that live transcribed. So as I'm speaking English, if you're over in Italy, for instance, it could do that in Italian while I'm speaking.
Yeah.
And that's wildly helpful, especially from an international perspective. There's a lot of use cases and possibilities if you think about, especially folks maybe in the Southwest United States, the French-speaking regions up in Canada. If you get folks that they're like, yeah, I just don't speak English almost at all, that could be wildly helpful to get on a call. Now you have to, you already got that translation there. That opens up a world of possibilities from a business perspective and a customer service perspective. So at the end of the day, if you ask me, what does AI mean? AI to me means automation. So without getting into specifics, I think you're going to continue to see Wildix look at automations, workflows. How do we take stuff that people do daily that we can automate, and that's what AI is going to do. You're going to see more integrations and more automations into CRMs. You're going to see bigger data, better analytics and sales intelligence, and a better user experience, right? At the end of the day, it's got to be easy to use. It's got to be intuitive. I mean, it's got to make their lives easy. If there's no value to it for an end user, then they're not going to use it.
That's exactly right. Matt, it's going to be very exciting to see what happens in the next few years. As we do automate things, we enhance workflows, we improve customer engagement. It's going to change the way we do business. It's going to change the way Hiscall does business. It's going to change the way you and I do business, as partners. But, with our clients and the way we shop and the things that we do, it's going to be very interesting.
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting times in the next few years.
Before you know it, we're going to be living like the Jetsons. You know what I'm talking about with that cartoon, right?
Yeah. I can only imagine when my daughter gets a little bit older, what it's going to look like for her in the workforce,
That right. Well, Matt, hey, listen, thank you so much for jumping on here, taking a few minutes to join us here on the podcast. It really means a lot that you would take time out of your day. I know how busy you are and the phone calls you get, and I really do appreciate your support most of all.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me aboard, Chuck. And as always, as I told you at HTS, man, I just love working with you folks. You make it easy. You guys are just wonderful people to work with. Thank you for having me along. It's been my pleasure.
Well, hey, come and see us. Come and see us anytime. Hope to see you soon. We always wrap up podcast with these encouraging words. Don't be afraid, only believe.
I like that.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Hiscall Technology Podcast. Subscribe to this podcast so you can stay up to date with today's business communication trends. To learn more about Hiscall solutions for your business needs or to listen to previous podcasts, visit us at our website, hiscall.com.